Chapter 6: How Sex Drives Evolution by Coyne.
One of the main concepts of this chapter is sexual dimorphism. What is sexual dimorphism? Sexual dimorphism describes the different traits such as shape, color, or structures between males and females of the same species. To the pictures on the right, we can see that the male's peacock looks very appealing with beautiful tails and colorful body, while the female peacock is the opposite. Those special traits have passed down from generation to generation, and Darwin found that those integrate behavior structures and ornaments are strictly to males only. These traits don't apply to natural selection for survival, but for effective reproduction. Sexual selection. Sexual selection is selected traits that help increase the chance of an individual to get a mate. There are two forms of sexual selection. One is direct competition between males and the other is female choice in mate. Male competition. One of the sexual selection forms is competition between males. They compete with each other for mate and protecting their own territories. The fights are usually very extremely fierce. One of the examples of bulls. Big bulls could get deeply wounded necks and suffocated by the larger bulls. The traits that favor the victory will become selection traits that will pass down to their offspring. This selection favored the production of strong weapons, features, and larger body size. After the mating, the male will be in a post-mating competition time. During this time, the male will protect the female that they mated with so that other males cannot interfere during protection time. The males also have variety defense weapons to protect their paternity, such as injects the anti-aphrodisiac semen to the female that makes her unwillingly to remate with other males, just like the fruit flies does. The offensive males also have their own weapons to get rid of the previous mate's sperm and replace with the such as the damselflies does with their penis scoop device. Female selection of mates. Females play major roles in selecting their mates. They choose their mates through the male's features, ornaments, offers, and mating displays. The male will compete with each other through physical appearances and their ability instead of fighting each other. The female will decide who is the winner is based on the female references. For example, the male's peacocks will show their beautiful tails and eye spots on them to female peacocks. The experimental results show that the male's peacocks with 160 eye spots and more feathers will be favored than others with less eye spots. The people could ask why females get to decide while males need to do everything to seduce them. This question will be answered through understanding of why organisms need to have sex.
Now that we've talked about the solutions, the next section is about why sex evolved. Let's say there was a gene in humans whose normal form led to sexual reproduction, but the mutant form led to a female to reproduce parthenogenically. Eventually, natural selection genes for parthenogenesis will eliminate sexual reproduction in this example, because in each generation the asexual gene would reproduce twice as many copies of itself compared to the original sexual gene. Biologists call this situation the twofold cause of sex. Why has this not happened on Earth yet? It's due to the huge evolutionary advantage, in this case the random sampling, which produces new combinations of genes in the offspring. By having new combinations of genes, sex might promote faster evolutions to deal with aspects of environment that are constantly changing, as well as purge bad genes out of the species. Once sex has evolved, sexual selection follows inevitably if two questions can be answered. First, why are there just two sexes that must mate and combine their genes to produce offspring? Second, why do sexes have different numbers and size of gametes? Well, theories have shown that two sexes will replace evolutionarily mating systems with two or more sexes, and also natural selection favors changing into male making many small gametes and female making fewer but larger gametes. The asymmetry in gamete sizes sets the stage for all of sexual selection, which results in different mating strategies. This evolutionary difference between males and females is a matter of differential investment. Investment in expensive eggs versus cheap sperm, investment in pregnancy, and also parental care. Another asymmetry in potential numbers of mates and offspring leads to conflicting interests when it comes to choose a mate. Selection favors genes that make a male promiscuous and female to be picky. That's why we see the law of battle, where male and male compete for females, whereas the females just pick the male that they think is the best. That's why males are colorful, have displays, mating calls, and bowers. All of this causes variance in mating success to be seen higher in males than females, for example in the red deer. This section of this chapter is about the breaking the rules section. Biologists have seen sexual dimorphisms in many social monogamous species. In this case, the appearances are deceiving. For instance, the fairy wren of Australia. At first glance, they look like they're monogamous because males and females usually spend their entire adult life socially bonded to each other. However, they show surprising sexual dimorphism in males, have gorgeous blue and black color, while females look dull grayish-brown. It's because the species are not actually monogamous, they actually mate with individuals other than their social partner. From biology studies, they found out that sexual selection theory makes testable predictions. They showed strong correlations between mating systems and sexual dimorphism. Whenever we see extreme dimorphisms in one species, it means the males compete for females. On the other hand, when we see similar looks between two sexes, it means the species are truly monogamous. We see a lot of promiscuous male and picky female in many species. However, there are species in which the males are picky while the females are promiscuous, even though it's rare. For example, in seahorses and pipefish. In some of these species, the males get pregnant rather than the females. The gestation period lasts longer than what it takes for a female to produce a fresh batch of eggs. In this case, females must compete for rare and non-pregnant males, thus the male-female difference in reproductive strategy is reversed. This reverse decoration is expected only if evolutionary explanation of dimorphism is true.
Why choose? What do females gain by choosing a male with certain characteristics? The answer is direct benefit and indirect benefit. Direct benefit is when a female chooses a male so that their offspring is healthier while growing up. An example is choosing a male that has territories where their offspring will be safe. Indirect benefit is when a female chooses a male because of their genes. Those genes will benefit their offspring. An example is genes that are resistant to diseases. Whether the female prefers direct or indirect benefit by being choosy, natural selection favors it. An example of direct benefit was done by Geoff Hill from the University of Michigan. In a local population, Geoff Hill noticed variation in the finch's color. There were multiple colors such as pale yellow, orange, and red. It varied in color. He did an experiment and tested if the finch's color correlated with the reproductive success of males. He tested this by using hairdryers on finches, exaggerating their paleness or brightness in color. The results were that females were always choosing brighter males. Geoff Hill then made further observations and noticed that brighter males expressed parental care to their offspring, while paler colored males did not, and that is why females were choosing brighter male finches. Indirect benefit. It's all about choosing a male that will pass on good genes to their offspring. But the question is, how do females know whether a male has a good gene or not? Some possible signs are males that have louder calls, bright colored, and longer tails. These traits could express genes that have allowed a male to survive and reproduce. Males that don't express these traits could be a sign of weakness. Are females looking for direct or indirect benefits? Allison did an experiment on great tree frogs to test this. In the southern part of the U.S., the male frogs did loud calls in order to attract females. Allison wanted to test whether the eggs fertilized with sperm of loud call males had an advantage in the genes they had. So they took the eggs in a lab and fertilized the eggs in vitro with half of the eggs fertilized with long calling sperm, and the other half with short calling sperm. They allowed the frogs to grow to maturity and realized that during development, the offspring that came from the long callers grew healthier than the short caller offspring. This is an example that females often prefer indirect benefit because females are choosing males with better genes to have those genes passed on to their offspring. This chapter mainly focused on how sex drives evolution. Bisexual dimorphism, which are different traits between gender, sexual selection, which consists of male-to-male competition in mate choice. We also understood why females are the ones that choose a specific mate, and finally, we covered what females gain by choosing a particular mate.